Tolkien.
Amazon's $500 million disaster Rings of Power is here. So we're going to listen to some of these actors, these activists that are pretending to be actors, that are portraying these made-up characters in this iconic world, and all they're interested in doing is proving that they hate what came before it. They want to rewrite it, revamp it, and erase it from history so they can pretend that they are the ones that brought it to a new place of diversity, inclusion, and representation. Now, this is a clip that was put together by a channel I found named Short Clips, so let's check it out. I give to you Rings of Power cringe, diversity, inclusion, and representation. Here we go.
For the book purists, for the Peter Jackson fans that are married to the films, what message do you have for them as they're awaiting the premiere of the series?
I would say, come along for the ride.
Immense amount of visual representation and a vast accessibility for every single person in the world to be able to stare at a screen and see a version of themselves staring right back at them. So
nobody does that. No one does that. And the fact that they continue to push this nonsense and push this ridiculous narrative is so out of touch with reality. And you have all these seals in the audience clapping for them because why? Because they don't want to be called racist and a sexist.
But what do we learn about woman dwarves that we didn't know through your portrayal?
Well, we learned that they exist. This is necessary. This is a revolutionary moment within our time. And to be the poster child of accessibility for people of colour, for women.
Women existing is such a problem for all of those toxic men out there, even though it's not a problem. And you can't find anyone with any relevant following that has a problem simply with women existing. What they have a problem with is the social justice activism, the feminist activism, the fact that you have a problem with women existing in the way they want to exist, in their natural ways. No, you have a problem with women, and you're projecting when you say that nonsense, and people are tired of it. And also the revolutionary garbage. Oh, it's a revolutionary moment. Remember Black Panther? Again, I know that they don't literally say it's the first time a black person has been in a movie, but that's what they project and pretend. They use this language like it's breaking down barriers. It's the first time it's ever happened, ladies and gentlemen. It's an important moment. It's revolutionary. Captain Marvel with Brie Larson. They pretended like that was the first time a woman's ever been in a film. That's what they were pretending. They just ignored all of these other iconic female characters that came before it because history is irrelevant to weirdos like this. History doesn't matter. They don't care about history. They want to eliminate history. They want to rewrite history so that they can capitalize from it. They can pretend that they did something important. And when in reality, all they did is hijack something from someone else, erase someone else's history, rewriting it, and then trying to pretend that they did something brave and stunning. It never fails.
But this is the first time that we see a woman, and the first time that we see a black woman in this area and this world and these works of Tolkien. You know, this is
that is not true in any way, shape, or form. Listen to what she just said. She just said it's the first time we see a woman.
I am no man.
That's what she said. Those are her words. This person has no interest in building the world of Lord of the Rings. This person wants to eliminate everything that came before it. And she says it in her own words in other interviews. I don't know if it's in this clip or not, but she essentially says, for future generations, this is going to be their introduction to Tolkien. This is what they're going to look at. This is what they're going to remember, because she is interested in wiping out anything that came before it so she can claim that she was part of the revolution that changed it. The first time women and black people were ever mentioned in this toxic world of Tolkien. And yes, it was toxic, but we changed it. That's what they're trying to do.
The first to be seen. You know, we get her in a role of prominence and power.
This is necessary.
It's time for so many people who may have not seen themselves staring right back at on a screen to have that chance and to have that turn. It's a reflection of the world that we live in, you know.
This represents progression. Time. I think with a franchise of this scale, it is so important that we make it as accessible as we possibly can for every single generation.
It is accessible. It's one of the most successful franchises ever. It's one of the most read books ever. It's universally accessible. Anyone that's interested can check it out, and they've almost certainly heard of The Lord of the Rings. But no, let's pretend that most people have never heard of it. Let's pretend that they could never get into it because it didn't have my diversity and inclusion and representation nonsense. Again, they just peddle lies, they peddle nonsense, and I guess it's like that old saying, if you say it enough, it becomes true, because that's essentially what's happening.
Progression. That is the power of a female dwarf, and that is a presence that is necessary within our industry more than ever.
I am holding up the torch for, you know, the women of that particular race and culture and kingdom.
It's progression. We are able to move forward, you know, and we are seen and we are heard and we are acknowledged as having a right to be here as much as anybody else.
Anybody else. Anybody else.
This is so bad. It's so bad. We deserve to be here just as much as anyone else. You are creating an argument that does not exist. And again, this is what activists do. They create a problem that does not exist. Therefore, they can fake overcome the problem that never existed. And then they can pat themselves on the back and pretend that they did something brave and stunning and they were a trailblazer.
And I know that people of colour will relate to that, in that when we sing, when we use our voices, it comes from way beyond. It comes from our ancestors. It comes from the struggle. It comes from the desperation and the fight for survival.
Of having a right to be here.
What I love about the costume and the look, it's unapologetic. You know, she has a huge slit up her skirt. There is skin. There is ever-flowing water in this amazing silk material. We are not apologising for her strength and her visual beauty.
First ever female dwarf as a female dwarf.
Lisa. The first female dwarf that we have ever seen on any screen. The first female dwarf that we have ever seen in the works of Tolkien.
Objectively false, as you see on the screen right there. But of course, who cares about facts and reality? Who cares about the truth? We're here to create a problem that did not exist so that we can fake overcome the problem and pretend to be a hero.
Having a right to be here.
And we are acknowledging, of course, all different shapes, sizes and worlds.
There are so many diverse people out there who will have really enjoyed all of the works that we've seen before, but now they get to see themselves staring back at them. Like, that's...
So, diverse people, non-white dudes, essentially, let's just call it like it is. She's saying that non-white dudes have never been able to enjoy the world of Lord of the Rings. And now they can, because she's the trailblazer, everyone. She's revolutionary. It's because of her.
Incredibly important.
Of having a right to be here. And I know that there are many, many women out there, like myself, who will be able to connect with her.
The generation that comes after us now, this will be their memory of Tolkien. This will be their memory of the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. And so we get to move that through and just be the beginning of this revolutionary moment for television, of course, the Tolkien franchise and works.
That, I told you. Roll it again, editor.
Just be the beginning of this revolutionary moment.
That is what I was telling you. Listen to her. She wants to rewrite history. She wants to rewrite history so that now future generations view her and her story as the story. Let's get rid of that toxic Tolkien world and let's revamp it and write it and reestablish it so that it's no longer toxic. Let's fix all of the problems from the past. That's what it is always about with these weirdos. Stand up against the nonsense and let them know that you don't accept what they are doing. And that's what Lord of the Rings fans are doing right now. Standing up against the nonsense and letting them know we are not going to accept your garbage. That's the whole point of this. This is all about rewriting and revamping and fixing the toxic story for a new generation so we can have diversity, inclusion, and representation.
And what I love about the writers on this show is that they have given every woman on the show, every female character, such agency. We don't serve the men around us. We have a storyline in our own right.
Of our version. I think it's something that really feels right for our times.
And I, as an activist, as a long-time human rights activist for my homeland, Iran, tapped into what I believe is, thank you.
So women had no agency in any of the Lord of the Rings movies. Only you now, only you, because you are now part of it. Now the women have agency. They're not there just to be told what to do by those terrible men. Now you have fixed a problem that did not exist. You are brave and stunning by your own definition.
Just think of my young self and how she would feel to see me on screen, and I have a young daughter and how she will feel to see me on screen. So I think that it's incredibly important in more ways than one. This to me just feels like something that has just the furthest possible reach, and you know, we're choosing to tell it in these times, so we should represent it for these times.
For any great success story of any world or race, there are females, and here I am.
And read the books. He wrote a lot.
Oh, man. So that's where we are with Lord of the Rings. That's where we are with Rings of Power. Rings of Power will end up being the biggest disaster in the history of television. They are not prepared for the level of hate that they are going to get, and it's justified because they have no respect for the source material. They have no respect for the fans. They have no respect for anyone that has ever come before them. This is about taking something that is iconic, taking something that has brand recognition, taking something that has history, rewriting it, redoing it, fixing all of the toxicity, and then claiming responsibility for the very creation of it. That is the point. That is what all of the weirdos involved with this want to do. But luckily, the Lord of the Rings fan base is not putting up with it. We have downvotes after downvotes after downvotes. It's universal. Everyone hates what they are doing with this show. Everyone is letting their voices be heard. And as I've talked about many times, you hear them out there trying to pretend like the criticism is not there. Trying to pretend because they can't acknowledge this criticism, because this criticism is so valid and it's so loud that it is tearing them apart. But yet you have something like Star Wars, which when Disney Star Wars first came out, you had a lot of positivity. Yet Disney invented a fake story about racism so that they could create a narrative about people being toxic towards John Boyega. Yeah, was there a few people? Maybe, probably. Whoop-de-doo. You had like 95% of the fan base enthusiastic, but they wanted to focus in on a couple of comments so they could create a fake narrative. Now, with Rings of Power, it's universally hated, yet they just continue to claim that it's universally praised because it's always the opposite with these weirdos. Thank you guys for checking out this video. I appreciate it. Check us out on Locals. Check us out on geeksandgamers.com. Check out our merch on 221B Tactical. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and we will talk to you later.